Hi, you're tuned in for the Power and Energy news channel, ESI Africa. For this episode, I am speaking with Bobbi Harris, who is the founder and CEO of Smart Water, Smart City. Welcome to the studio, Bobbi.
Thank you so much, Nicolette.
So you've traveled quite a far way to get to Ended Africa, and we're here to talk about city planning and what a smart city looks like and what even a smart village would look like. So let's start off with where we're going wrong. Let's touch on that a little bit in terms of city planning.
You know, it's interesting. We can throw stones at just about any city around the world and say what might they do better. So I think sometimes our cities make plans but then don't execute. And so sometimes I think that's the only stepping stone to doing wrong or to not doing what needs to be done. Because when you create a strategic plan for a smart city, you can come about it from many different places. There is smart healthcare, there's smart transportation, there's smart street lighting, there's smart electric grid, there's smart water, which is near to my heart. But a city could create their strategy in many different ways. But creating the strategy is only the first step. The execution is the piece that I think sometimes we fall short on. We as society fall short on. So to me, it's all about delivering on those plans, creating the right plan for balance, but then making sure we're actually executing. Another thing that I think a lot of cities struggle with and communities in general struggle with is how do you educate the consumers? How do you let them know and let them engage and let them be part of it? If you will do an education strategy as you're beginning to roll out your smart city strategy and engage your residents and explain to them what's so important about this and how they can be part of it, you'll get their buy-in on it, and you'll really realize that you'll be much more successful that way as we do it as a team. They'll think they're part of it.
Mm-hmm. And here in Cape Town, we have the perfect case study of that actually happening. When we had day zero, the city communicated a very clear message to everybody in the city, and I think that is what saved us.
I think it is as well, because you saw people make changes in their lives to say, I can't do it all, but I can do my part. And if we all do our parts, then we'll be okay. And I think that's an excellent case study of how educating and including the residents, you'll be much more successful, truly.
As you say, for cities across the world, it's the planning and then the execution.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the African smart city. In your view, what are the pillars for us that we are really strong at?
You know, green energy, I love what I've learned from Green Cape and that whole process. To me, that could be a case study that the rest of the world could learn from, because not only have they looked at green energy, solar, wind, the distributed energy resources, they've looked though at how do we save and recycle and reuse water, potable water. How do we not use potable water, drinking water, to flush toilets or to wash our clothes? What can we, or to water our yards and our gardens? I think if we can learn from those pillars, to me those are the key pillars, because you have water, you have food, you have electricity. To me those are the key first pillars of a smart community of any size. The nice to haves might be the smart street lighting or the electric vehicles or electric vehicle charging. But to me, those first three pillars are probably the most critical. Smart agriculture, drip irrigation, saving that precious, only using what you need of that precious water. To me, that's probably your strongest three pillars here, and I see it. I see it throughout. I've been driving around South Africa for the last 2 weeks. I've watched the smart irrigation, the drip irrigation. I've seen the recycled water and the messages about that on the toilets and the washing machines and things. I love that. So, bravo.
Yeah, so as you're saying, it's all about the nexus. It's looking at energy, food, water, and that there is no one element that works alone.
No, That's absolutely right. And there's no one right answer for a city. So a lot of people ask me, how do you define a smart city? What should we do? What are the steps? You can come about it from so many different ways. So you can have a lot of pillars, and for one city it might be the smart grid, the energy grid that we want to start with because that makes the most sense. For another city it might be water. For another city it might be agriculture. And each city needs to say what fits us best. Where can we, as I say, what's that low-hanging fruit that we can be successful at first? Let's get that win, and then let's build on that.
Right, right. So for African cities, and there are many that are quite substantial in terms of being metros and a lot of residents, millions in fact. And what are the innovations that you've seen coming out of those cities?
You know, it's interesting because the large cities are where you can see some interesting things like smart transportation, fleet management. Might think, oh, that's an interesting thing, but that's a great first step because you are moving the masses. And when you have large populations, the infrastructure is critical. So if it's smart roads or if it's smart transportation or smart street lighting, those are the places where you can make such a huge impact. So for the city of Cape Town or Joburg, so many street lights, changing those to LEDs. Yeah. Putting the smart photo sensors on there so that they're not on when they don't need to be on. Turning them down a little bit so that the lumens don't create light pollution and you save energy. Brilliant. Let's keep doing that. And you can learn that from the large cities the best. That's a big impact that will happen in the large cities mostly.
So let's talk about the communities, smaller communities, villages. Have you come across a smart village? What does that look like? What is encompassed in a smart village?
Yeah, you know, again, it's about sustainability, and it can only be smart if it's sustainable. So if I come in and I put in solar so that I have energy, that's wonderful. But solar and battery storage, now that can be sustained because you can prolong your energy use. So I see that in some smart villages. Again, smart water, how do you do wells that are smart? How do you do water purification that's smart? How do you do drip irrigation again or farming that's smart? And in the villages, I see where that could have much more of an impact, especially as you're traveling and you see some of these villages that are highly agricultural. Not just the grape region, but then the citrus trees and the olive trees and all of that agriculture. And then you see the farm animals and the sheep and the cows, and how can you better utilize that land, protecting the water, protecting the infrastructure, because it is a very finite balance that you have to maintain in any smart village. We want to think that everything should communicate. I tell people meter is not smart unless it's got two-way communication. Well, that's very true. But there's some smart technology that can communicate in burst, and the power or the communications networks that you need there can be more controlled, more of a controlled system like a SCADA system. To me, that's still a smart network in a village. You have to build it for what you need in that village, truly.
Right. I like that you say that because when we talk smart, we always think technology, but it's not always about the technology. It's what is the right fit for that particular city or village.
Yes.
So in your view, what would be a starting point for a community that wants to start up a smart city or smart village?
I think the key is to sit with your leaders and really define what your goals are. What's your biggest challenge? Sometimes just the activity of writing that down, of saying, okay, we know that we struggle with this, but this other item might be our true goal. So what we're struggling with may have nothing to do with our goal. So let's define those two things. And then let's put the plan in place. And what are the baby steps that we can take to move forward? To me, it takes that kind of communication, that kind of open dialogue, put that plan in place, and then work your program. Work the program, set those small milestones, celebrate those milestones, and move to the next thing. That's what I would meet with any city. That's what I would tell them to do.
That's very good advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bobbi.
It's my true pleasure. I love being here. I love to see all the innovation coming out of sub-Saharan Africa, South Africa particularly. It gives me things to take back to the United States, to Europe when I speak there. I can take this and other places can learn from what's going on here. So be proud of that.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Nicolette.
And thank you for watching. Like, share and subscribe to ESI Africa for more of this type of content.